Alright, how's it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? And I wanted to come back and do a video and talk about kind of where the demographic is shifting in this country, particularly politically in the social media landscape. So, after the election, I noticed, well, I didn't really notice actually, a lot of leftist YouTubers were coming out and ultimately saying that their subscriber base had ultimately ended up taking a hit. Like they've lost a lot of subscribers. As far as paid subscribers. So this certainly wasn't a YouTube purge or anything like that. And so I wanted to go ahead and do a video because I'm starting to see this as far as the landscape goes of political media and where the country is kind of going as a whole in this country. So you got to understand one thing, that a lot of these internet influencers on these social media accounts, their subscriber base and their following wasn't completely organic. What you had was these PACs, right, that were trying to influence the masses pretty much, and they understood that nobody believes in political narratives from mainstream sources. The rate has been declining probably since the Obama era. This is why you ended up getting Trump in 2016. What the state has realized ultimately is that these internet shills that they pretty much paid, like your David Pakmans, like your Brian Tyler Cohens, like your Destinies and stuff like that, really didn't have a lot of influence. Whenever you go ahead and look at the media propaganda against Trump, whenever you take in consideration the Russia narrative, a lot of the gun control narratives, a lot of the BLM narratives, and a lot of the... This is exactly what I said would happen. When you push the dummy button that much, ultimately it's gonna, dilapidate into where nobody's gonna have any confidence. They're the boy who cried wolf. And so the organic traffic for people like David Pakman, Sam Seder, Farron Cousins, ultimately it really wasn't there to begin with. So now what we're seeing is them lose a lot of subscribers. And not just baseless bot accounts are people being purged off of YouTube. These were paid subscribers, you know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you get people like Clay Travis, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, who are picking up and gaining subscribers after this election. Ultimately, what the powers that be that have to sit there and create these narratives for you to follow, whether it be on the right, the Handmaid's Tale that they are propaganda that they were pushing, or the end of our democracy, and this would be the last election. On the other side, you have all these illegal immigrants sneaking across the border and various other propaganda on the right. So ultimately, what you're having is propaganda versus propaganda. And so, who's selling their narrative the best right now? Well, we see in this election, which was a mandate, and to be honest with you, if I were to go over the actual numbers, Donald Trump won the last 3 elections, so technically this would be his 3rd term, in all honesty. And, to be honest with you, looking at the landscape with the inflation and all the bullshit that the state has put in, we can see that they've probably utilized all their sources on the left, expensed everything on the left. The Democrat Party is ultimately dead. There's just going to be no saving it whatsoever. So, if I was like a Democrat campaign strategist and I was trying to somehow manage to save this party any kind of face, save anybody down ballot for the Democrat Party, what would I do? ultimately, I never would have ran with Joe Biden. I never would have ran with Hillary Clinton. I think that that's one of the things that pretty much has killed the Democrat Party and pretty much killed the confidence even from its own voters. So much so that they're all kind of migrating into what essentially even some of these right-wing YouTubers like the Clay Travises, like the Hard Bastards, which I actually like, are trying to create this said uniparty. It's all still about getting a new world order type of system, whether it be communist or theocracy. So, like, somebody like me would like to have two legitimate high-quality parties competing on high-quality ideas. Unfortunately, we don't have that. We have the Republicans who are trying to go ahead and fearmonger just as bad as the left was at any point in time, and trying to implement a theocracy as opposed to the communism that the left was trying to go ahead and promote. So if I was going to go ahead and save the Democrat Party, this would be what I would do. This would be exactly how I would go about trying to save the Democrat Party. Is I would first off go to Joe Biden and say, hey, buddy, you got to step aside. It's what's best for the party. It's what's best for the country as a whole. And like I said, right now you need to step aside. Now, before you're sitting there saying, oh, yeah, well, that would be a cheap way to get a black female in there, and that would be just another, because the reason why the Democrats are not going to get any kind of, like, minority candidate or any kind of female candidate is because they gaslit the whole fucking country whenever Obama was in charge. And America still has a bad taste in their mouth. They understand they're tired of being called bigots and homophobes and all this other shit. Particularly the independents that are not going to be associated with your party or your brand of communism are not going to go along with it. And we already understand that you're going to gaslight, so that's why they turn out overwhelmingly to vote against these issues that you pretend to care about. However, with that being said, I would go ahead, ask Joe Biden to go ahead and step aside. Now the Democrat can go ahead and lay claim to having the first ethnic fucking female president, for even if it's only for like 30 days or something. What I would sit there and then tell Kamala to do is say, look, Kamala, you need to go ahead and repeal that HR 5736. And you need to go ahead and repeal that HR 5181. These are the media propaganda bills, and this is the internet, what was essentially used to go ahead and censor the internet, which was the Counter Propaganda Act. Then the Democrats could go ahead and lay claim of accomplishments because, look, you went ahead under the Democrat administration. We ended up overturning Roe v. Wade. We overturned some of the New York gun bans and stuff like that going on. And then you can go ahead and lay claim to overturning a lot of the propaganda so used to propaganda and brainwashed American people that was overturned by the Democrat Party. So, once you do that, then you could go ahead and say face down ballot. Maybe you can go ahead and run. I probably wouldn't run a Gavin Newsom, but if you could go ahead and, reform your party, because that's exactly what they should have done in 2016. They should have reformed the party, but they never did. We know that you don't listen to your own base. Not like your base is extremely sane. Not like the Bernie base was extremely sane. But, it really didn't matter because you still went ahead and run with the stimulus that you did. And you still ended up inflating the currency regardless if it was in America's, against America's will or not. You went ahead and did that. So I meant, these are just things that you've done. And this is exactly why a majority of the country has kind of like just rejected you straight out. Make no mistake. This was a mandate election, and it doesn't matter how you want to spin it in your narrative, in your propaganda source, that nobody believes the propaganda sources anymore. So, I mean, you know, you can go ahead and say, oh, you know, the popular vote wasn't that much, and if Joe Biden's election wasn't a mandate, you can go ahead and keep paying these shills because you're just dumping your money. And we can see exactly with Kamala going $20 million in debt and how the Democrat Party went broke and then had Hillary Clinton purchased a nomination where you had to go against the will of the Democrat voters that shoved a lot of people on board on that MAGA train. And we're, you know, like right now, where you're at exactly 2% of the population that even supports you or believes you or identifies with you on the algorithms. This is exactly what I would do. I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath for YouTube to go ahead and unban or uncensor somebody like myself, or, you know, make concessions to go ahead and bring back the original internet influencers that were on here that were making video and making the same kind of content at the expense of like a Mark Dice or, like I said, a Quartering or any of these other shills that have been ultimately, I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. However, you can go ahead and start laying the groundwork because we know exactly what's going to happen. Turnabout's fair play, and a lot of these people are going to have a bone to pick, especially with you. So at some point in time, you're going to want somebody with some sanity to err on the side of caution as far as like trying to go ahead and go after you. It's going to be very, very interesting because I think that there needs to be punishments. I think that there needs to be examples made for society just because of all of the Obama administration and the State Department bullshit. But do you want the extremists to go ahead and set the standards? Or do you want somebody that's going to be a little bit more coherent? Somebody that's going to be like, hey, you know what? Wait a minute. There are other alternatives other than just throwing people out of a fucking helicopter or whatever the hell they're going to say at any given time. So, yeah, that's exactly what I would do if I was going to go ahead and save the Democrat Party down ballot. I would just go ahead and say, Joe, you need to step aside. Go ahead and allow Kamala to go ahead and get in. Let's go ahead and put this feather in our hat and start overturning a lot of these aggressive policies that have been, because otherwise they're going to use these same policies, these HR 5736s, not like they already haven't, but they're going to start using them against you. So anyways, I figured I would go ahead and do a video. You people tell me what you think. Like, sub, do the shit the internet tells me to do to get over. And for now, I'm out.